For my presentation, I'm studying the effects, the erroneous claims that are out there of children and sugar. So, for some background, sugar gets a lot of negative attention about how bad it is and how it causes obesity and how it increases and makes ADHD worse. So, while most of this and even some of it is true, a lot of these claims are very erroneous, and the correlation between ADHD, sugar, and even artificial colors like food coloring are just false. So there's also another big myth about how sugar causes hyperactivity in children. So this is another erroneous statement, and many of these are mainstream and they are believed to be true. So a little background on like what is it? So sugar, as we all know, just a soluble carbohydrate that comes from the sugarcane plant and is refined. Artificial colors are created in the lab by chemicals to give the food we eat the color it is, and they are made from chemicals that are derived from petroleum, which is like a crude oil product, which is used in fuel, asphalt, and tar. Now, a little ADHD background. So, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. This is a disorder that involves a group of key skills known as executive function. So, executive function impacts the ability to focus, organize, and use working memory. So, this is one of the most common conditions in children, and it impacts how they perform in school and their everyday lives. And there are many causes, and they're mainly neurological causes, but there are also some false claims out there as to why it happens and what makes it worse. So, a little neuroscience of ADHD in the brain. So, individuals with ADHD have lower levels of norepinephrine, which is linked with dopamine, and dopamine is what helps control the brain's reward and pleasure center. So, now ADHD brains have impairment in four functional parts of the brain: the frontal cortex, the limbic system, the basal ganglia, and the reticular activating system. So, the erroneous claims. So, many articles in mainstream media make the claim that sugar and artificial food coloring causes ADHD and hyperactivity in children. So, the common claim that many mothers make about how their children is very hyper from the sugar that they just ate is just not accurate at all. Some articles also make these claims, and there's one that explains what foods should be avoided for children with ADHD, and most of the foods are high in sugars and have artificial food coloring. So these statements are just not true, but many believe that this is what causes it because it's in the media. So in the Everyday Health article about the food to avoid when if your child has ADHD, they make a statement about how candy should be avoided due to the artificial colors and sweeteners. So this is just not a true claim, and there have been many experiments done to debunk this. They also make another statement about how one should avoid cake and icing because of the large amounts of sugar. They say that this will cause hyperactivity in the children if eaten. This is another false claim. Eating a lot of sugar does not cause hyperactivity in the child. So the truth. So there have been many studies and experiments that debunk the myth that sugar or artificial colors causes or worsens ADHD. A study looked at children from ages 6 to 11, surveyed how much sugar consumption they usually consumed, and then looked at the mothers and did a well-being test to determine the presence of ADHD. They concluded that the amount of sugar consumed had no correlation to ADHD at all. And there's another study that looked at the impacts of artificial food coloring and the impacts it has on ADHD. It also looked at how behaviors change due to artificial colors, and they said that behaviors changed a little bit, but really nothing major and nothing that resulted in causing or worsening ADHD. So the conclusion, even though sugar and artificial food coloring isn't great for humans, it does not cause hyperactivity or ADHD in children. And there are many erroneous claims out there that say it does, but those are just not true. So those need to be taken into consideration when looking at news on the internet. And then finally, my reference pages for where I got all of my information from. And that is my presentation. Thank you for watching.